Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this information session organized by the East Africa Law Society in partnership with the Alliance Française East Africa. By that, I mean almost all the Alliance Française in the region. This session essentially seeks to empower you with how you can learn a new transactional language in the region. The key focus is French, but there are other options, as shall be stated by our experts today. And without taking much time, and on behalf of the East Africa Law Society Governing Council and President Bernardo Undo, I welcome you to the session. And we'll be calling the first speaker for the day, Ms. Magali Losange, who will give us more details about the session and take us forward. Magali, proceed, please.
Merci beaucoup, David. Good afternoon, everyone. Bonsoir à tous. It's a pleasure for me and for my colleagues to be a part of this information session. I have to say, over the last 12 months or so, we receive more and more requests of regional organizations to organize this kind of big meetings, joining different countries, because I believe our challenges are the same, the needs are the same. And the good thing is that you're lucky enough to have different linguistic and career centers that are pretty much the same. So this session is an opportunity for us to explain what Alliance Française is about, and for you to tell us better what you expect from us. We know that our names might not be able to pronounce and to remember, so we put them on the first screen. As David explained, my name is Magali Losange. I'm the head of courses of Alliance Française Kampala. I am sharing a room today with my colleague Pauline Diné. Pauline, if you want to wave at the audience. And I have the pleasure to be with my two other colleagues from Dar es Salaam and Mombasa. Adèle Guillaume, sorry, I don't know why I put it this way, Adèle, sorry for that. Merci, Adèle. And Khadija Bakari from Mombasa. We should be joined by our colleague Obilo from Nairobi later on. We had a couple of different sessions prior to these information sessions where we took the time to discuss the four centers together about how we want to better answer to your request. So everything you're going to look at today is basically a summary of the different discussions we had. And to give you a better understanding of what we're going to discuss about today, this is the agenda. So the program for today is to quickly review why we are here today. You will, I think, see some of the request needs that some of you have expressed in the past. I am sure that some of you have some specific requests and requirements, and the idea is for you to share them for now in the chat window. And we'll take the time at the end of the meeting to review all your questions and to make sure to answer them. We'll also invite you to speak directly and to ask your questions, because again, this session is an opportunity for us to better understand what you expect from us. We're going to explain why there are different countries together today, and we're going to present this network called Alliance Française. Each of my colleagues are going to give you a few information about our linguistic and cultural centers with a focus on some references. So we're going to tell you how we've been able to work in the past with other organizations, whether they are private or public. And then we're going to get into the details of the services. So we're going to start with French classes. In most cases, because we work with a lot of adults, we've been able to develop key differentiators. And we have really worked hard on making sure that our programs can be successful. So we're going to explain how we make things happen, what are the different classes and levels for someone who wants to learn French, what is the methodology that we use, what are the different options for classes schedules, and finally, how you can make sure that you can monitor your progress with something called DELF, which is an international certification. My colleague Khadija will then take it from there, and she will explain how the Alliance Française in Mombasa became the reference for Swahili classes. They have done an amazing job at creating specific content for people who want to learn Swahili. So she will present some of the content they've created, and again, she'll explain why this center is coming with a program that is pretty unique. And as I explained at the beginning, we'll take some time to review your questions. So again, do not be shy. Please take advantage of this first part of the presentation to share your comments, questions, requests. My colleagues are on the line to help me to make sure that we can answer to some of them right away, and we'll take the time to review the other ones at the end of the presentation. And again, you'll be able to interact directly. So without further ado, I'm going to start with why we're here. See, this is a summary of the first encounter we had with after the first meeting with the East Africa Law Society. So we understood that there is a clear need for French classes, but also some interest for Kiswahili classes. And it is due to the fact that you are more and more involved in different trips, missions, travels, work travels with a neighboring country, most of them being French-speaking countries. We know the challenge of being able to communicate with people who don't speak English. David was just telling us this, how his last trip in Kinshasa went, and we heard that story many times. And the idea is to make sure that, first of all, you can learn French, but you can also partner with non-Anglophone organization, and that means developing what is called French on specific purpose or French for professionals. All of that is something we hear very often. We'll go back to the different references. We'll show you the different organizations we've been working on. But again, the idea is for us to make sure that we start with what is called the foundation. So we work on making sure that you can understand and speak French, understand and speak Kiswahili. And then along the way, we improve the program and we do something that is as specific as possible. And in your case, that will be legal French. So I keep on saying we, and you might be wondering who is this we. So the we is the Alliance Française Network. There is a global network called the Alliance Française Foundation. It's an institution that was created in the 19th century in Paris. And throughout worldwide, there are more than 800 Alliance Françaises. I have to highlight though, that we are not franchise per se. We are local nonprofit organizations that were created in the different countries by people who are passionate about French. And these groups grew up to a point where they started to develop some connection with the embassies. So in our case, Alliance Française Kampala, our center was created back in 1957 by Ugandans who realized that learning French was quite important. And actually our board, we have a board, our board director is a very successful and well-known Ugandan called Dr. Atseros. She's Ugandan, speaks perfect French, and she's been involved in the development of Alliance Française for more than 20 years. So these non-profits are connected to a specific country. They are local non-profits, but because we are part of a global network, we have developed similar ways of teaching French. We have been able to work with the same books, with the same methodology, and since COVID, with the same ways of teaching online. What is specific again about this Alliance Française network is that as much as possible in the different centers, we want to make sure that we have a multicultural team. And in the different countries, students are exposed to different nationalities and most importantly to different accents. So you have a sample, a list of the teachers, the origin of the teachers who work at Alliance Française. I have to highlight something very important though. As much as possible, we want to stick to French. So the idea is really for you, for students, for people who want to learn French, to have a full immersion in the French and Francophone cultures. And that means having not only classes, but different ways to be exposed to the Francophone cultures, because again, Alliance Française are linguistic and cultural centers. So in the different centers, we organize regular exhibitions, movie nights, concerts, events, conferences, to make sure that people can really connect with all these countries that you can see right now. I'm going to stop there to let my colleague introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about the different centers. What you can see here, that might be the first important information, is the location of the different centers in the different countries and the website addresses. So if you want to start looking for more information about the different centers. Something I forgot to mention is the fact that we'll be able to share that presentation with the society after the meeting. So you'll be able to go back to the different information. But for now, I'm going to stop a little bit. I'm going to let my colleagues tell you more about the centers with some statistics and maybe some references as well, organizations they've been able to work with. And I'm going to ask Adèle maybe to start with the presentation of Dar es Salaam. Merci Adèle.
Bonsoir, good afternoon. I will do for you a quick overview about Alliance Française Dar es Salaam. So we were created in 1961. We are in Dar es Salaam, but we also have a branch in Arusha and an association in Zanzibar. As you can see on the picture, we are a very lively cultural center known for concerts, and we teach French and Swahili. We have, for example, 11 French teachers and 4 Swahili teachers. And as Magali just said before, our teachers come from Burundi, Congo, France, and Tanzania, for sure. About our main cooperation, I can say that, yeah, we cooperate with a lot of companies. Most of them nowadays, we work with Total, the Total company, ECOP Pipeline Company. So this company, which is working nowadays on the big pipeline project in Uganda and in Tanzania. Also with a company named Twiga Cement, High Court of Tanzania, and embassies as the Irish Embassy, the Italian Embassy, and also the High Commission of Canada. We also work with schools, so we have partnership with secondary, primary, and high school. Yeah, that's the overview about Alliance Française in Dar es Salaam. Caribou.
Merci beaucoup, Adèle. Khadija, could you introduce our audience to the Alliance Française in Mombasa, please?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. So ours is Alliance Française Mombasa. It's the second one in Kenya after Nairobi. The picture on the presentation shows the building where Alliance Française Mombasa has been for a very, very long time. Right now we are in a different location, but actually we were, it was formed in 1975. So in 3 years' time, we'll actually be celebrating 50 years of existence in Mombasa. And throughout our existence, we've been a center of reference for French language. Mostly also because Mombasa is a very touristic country, and for many years we get people from different nationalities. So our main focus is teaching French. We teach Swahili as well. In some cases we do teach English on demand. And we also partner with other institutions like Goethe Institute to teach German as well. As my colleagues said, we are not just a linguistic organization, but we care about cultural diversity as well. So we work with the local stakeholders in Mombasa for events, for activities, for very many showcases. We also work with schools and university. We've been working with the Technical University of Mombasa for a while now to promote the teaching of French, especially in the tourism department. Recently, we just inaugurated a language center in the same university, also as a way to attract more people, you know, to learn French and discover this beautiful language. So in terms of organization, we not only teach the languages, we do translations as well, conferences, and we've had the pleasure of working with Total, OGEFREM, Vivo, Northern Corridor. So you can see work with both Francophone and non-Francophone organization. Well, that's it for now. I think I'll maybe explain a bit more about our product when I get the second chance to speak. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Khadija. And Pauline will now explain what is Alliance Française Kampala about.
Alors, bonjour tout le monde. So, Alliance Française Kampala Well, I'm kind of going to say similar things than my colleague said. So we do teach languages, so French, obviously, but also Swahili, Luganda, English, and Spanish. So we have two centers. One is in Kamocha for people who know Kampala, and also at the National Theatre. So we have two centers for classes. What else can I say? We mostly teach to, so we have corporate classes. It's actually what I'm in charge of. So we teach to private companies, Total as well, and international organizations. But we also have group classes, individual classes to people of all ages. So yes, so we're also a language and cultural center. Yeah, Magali, if you want to add something, I feel like these are the key points of the Alliance Française Kampala.
Merci beaucoup, Pauline. Indeed, as you heard, we have a similar ways of teaching and partnering with different companies and organizations, which is why, again, we're able to be here in front of you all together. Just to review the different logos you are looking at right now, these are people who decided to train their staff members, mainly in French, but also in Swahili and for us in Uganda. What is special about what we call corporate classes is the fact that for these companies, for these organizations, we are able to be much more flexible. So we have two main offers. People can join what we call a group class. So we have different sessions throughout the year with specific times and specific limitation in terms of number of people who can join a class. So people who are interested in learning French and joining one of the class have to stick to a schedule, to a session. On the other hand, when a corporation or an organization like yours is interested in training their staff members, we're able to be much more flexible. So we look at the number of people interested, the levels, we'll get back to that. And then we also look at what will be the best time for them. The other difference as well is that we monitor the progress. We're able to really track the progress of the group with different surveys, engagement with what we call the sponsor of the program. And the idea is to make sure that we provide a higher quality service than when you come and join a group class. So some of the names and logos you see right here have been with us for quite some time. I believe that is because they do enjoy the service provided, but also because in most cases they have a specific target, a specific goal. They want people who learn French and Swahili to be able to be fluent and to actually use it for professional reasons. And then to summarize what my colleagues just said, what do we do in the different Alliances Françaises? So we have classes again for adults. We have what we call the group classes, the corporate classes, but we also have private classes. That would be the third offer. Someone can decide to have a one-on-one session. That's especially convenient for people who want maybe to learn faster. Maybe they have, in some cases, I had recently the visit of a gentleman who wanted to learn French in a month. He's still very optimistic about the fact that he'll be able to do that. But in that case, we're able to have a one-on-one session with a teacher who is dedicated on making his goal, on fulfilling his goal, in all the different centers, we also have classes for children, kids and teens. As we say, we have all the courses. So in Kampala, that will be Luganda and Spanish. We have in all the different centers translation services. We are also in some cases operators for the French embassy. So the French embassy asks us to train teachers in different schools and universities of the country. And finally, something that is quite important, we are the only centers, the only official centers for official diplomas. And I think you will get more and more familiar with these different words. The first one is DELF, D-E-L-F, Diplôme d'études de la langue française. It's a diploma to certify your level in French. It is provided by the French Ministry of Education, and it's typically what HR managers ask people who say that they can speak French. TCF and TEF are the other diplomas, pretty similar. They are provided by other centers, but they are also recognized worldwide, internationally, and they are usually the diplomas required for migration in Canada. So that's about the Alliance Française network and the different centers. And now I guess that you are more and more curious about French classes, so we'll take the time to explain why, what we can offer and why we are so different. So our key differentiators, the first one will be the size of the classes. We want to make sure that teachers can address specific needs, especially for beginners, that they can work on the pronunciation, that they can provide a one-on-one as much as possible support. So we want to make sure that our classes have a maximum of 15 participants. That will be the first key differentiator. The second one is the materials we use. We have up-to-date books from France. We have to order them on a regular basis. We want to keep up-to-date books because we also want to make sure that they reflect the latest trends in the Francophone countries. And finally, that they also align with the latest methodology. So all of our materials come with audios, videos, and interactive content, because as you can imagine, nowadays what is really important is for people to be able to work on their own on different digital platforms. The third differentiator would be our teachers. Our teachers are regularly trained, they are qualified, and they go through continuous training and observations. And this is linked to the fact, again, that we are part of this Alliance Française Network Foundation. So as much as possible, we're trying to train them with different trainers from France. And when we do local training, we align with the latest methodology. Flexibility is something that I already mentioned for corporate classes. Classes take place where and when you want. So we'll discuss about that at the end of the presentation. The other benefits, the other differentiators of the Alliance Française, very connected to what my colleague says about the fact that we're also a cultural center. As members and students of Alliance Française, you receive regular invites to different events that we organize. When these events are related to the Francophone culture, it's another opportunity to be exposed to the language and to learn faster and differently. We also have resources centers, so we provide, we help people who want to use extra books, CDs, DVDs. We have right now the photos of Alliance Française Kampala, our center in Kamboja. And as you can see, there is actually a space for people to study, to use the tablets, the computer, and so on. And finally, we also have a digital library called Culture Tech. And with that library, without having to move to our centers, you can have access to ebooks, magazines, and other interactive contents. Now, this is typically the main question that we get. How long does it take to learn French? And how can I actually track my progress? We use a system called CECRL. It's a framework. It's the framework of reference for languages that was created by the European Union. And the idea is that for any language you learn, there are different steps and milestones for you to see how much you know. So as you can see, there are 6 milestones from A1 to C2. So in most cases, when people come to us, they decide to start from the start. They start with A1. So A1, we're going to look at a quick summary of what you should be exposed to during these 120 hours. A1 is an opportunity basically to learn the foundation, alphabet, numbers, greetings, introduction, the basic vocabulary, and so on. And as you move forward, the idea is to be able to expand your grammar, to expand your grammar vocabulary, and also to move toward what we call professional French, which start between A2 and B1. To give you specific information, in most cases, because we've been working with a lot of UN agencies, in most cases, when you want to work for the UN as a bilingual staff member, as someone who can speak French, the level required is B2. It is also the minimum level required for someone who wants to be a French teacher. And finally, it's the level required for someone who wants to do a graduate program abroad in France or other Francophone countries. So it is usually the ultimate goal for people who want to learn French, B2. C1 and C2 are usually levels required for translators and interpreters. And basically, most of our students are between A1 and B2. This is a quick, very quick summary of the first 60 hours, what to expect at the A1.1 level. So we already talk about some of these topics. Greet people, talk about yourself, talk about where you live, your family member, what you like, what you don't like, j'aime, je n'aime pas. We start doing some play role during the first 60 hours. So ordering food at a restaurant, buying a ticket. You can ask about the day, the time. You can accept an invitation, refuse politely, and so on and so on. So flexibility, we have different options that we typically offer to corporate clients. Usually, most people are interested in having classes early in the morning before starting, before going to the office. We also have a couple of requests for people who are interested in having classes during lunchtime. And I would say more and more requests for people who want to study after work. So we'll discuss more about that, but just for you to know, we have classes from Monday to Saturday, from morning to evening. And the reason why I wanted to have this information session is to actually get a better feel of what would be more convenient for you before we send you a Google form, an online registration, where you will be able to confirm your schedule. But as for now, and we'll go back to different options, I want you to keep in mind that we are flexible. Start thinking about what would be better for you. Is it better to have classes before starting your work day, or is it better to finish with our classes? We'll get back to that. We also wanted to highlight our specific methodology because I've been here for 2 years and I heard many times people telling me about their traumatic experience of learning French in high school. And usually what I've been told is that the teacher was very boring. They would focus on grammar. They learn how to read French. They learn everything about the grammar, but at the end of 2, 3, or 4 years of French, they felt like they were not able to speak. And I'm sure that this is not what you want. Your focus as a professional should be about connecting, communicating with people. And that's exactly what the methodology of Alliance Française is about. We use what is called the communicative approach, which means that we have different situations. We use different documents. They can be articles, text, audios, videos. With these specific situations and documents, we highlight a specific grammar point. And we take the time to break it down for the person to understand the rule, to expand again the vocabulary. But at the end of the class, what we want is for someone to be able to speak or write according to a specific situation. So as much as possible and as early as possible, we want to have an interactive class where people get to really practice and express themselves. Mistakes are okay. We are not looking for perfection, but what we don't want is to have a boring class where we just focus on the grammar points and we don't feel that students are able at the end of 60, 120 hours to actually engage in a real situation with the French speakers. So this communicative approach is the approach that is the base of the different books we use. Our teachers are trained accordingly. It can get a bit surprising at first because, again, as much as possible, we want our teachers to avoid using English or the other languages. But I can tell you that the results are there. Again, in 2 years of time in Uganda, I've been able to see so many success stories. And we want to make sure that as much as possible, we hear from you, which is why we have this regular monitoring. And Pauline's job, for instance, is to send out regular surveys to ask you how you feel about the program and to ask what we can do better throughout the program. So what I'm trying to say is that we believe in what we do. We believe that we can help you to learn French, and we hope that you'll be able to trust us and start learning with us. I'm going to finish with certifications. This is actually the best way to assess your knowledge, to show us and to show to a potential HR manager or to show to a potential organization how much you know in French. So the main diploma, the main certification is called DELF. It's a diploma that is awarded by the French Ministry of Education. In all countries, you can sit for the DELF exam. We have different sessions throughout the year. In Uganda, we have 4 sessions. We are actually going to have the next session tomorrow. So we have a couple of people, professionals, young people who are preparing right now for their exams tomorrow morning. It is very useful, again, for people who want to know the level of the person who is in front of them. More and more companies, more and more organizations are familiar with the 6 levels I'll show you. So if you give them a paper showing your level, they'll be able to know exactly what you're able to do and what you're able to understand. The good thing about these exams is that they are valid for life. And just for you to know, there is an exam for each level. So you can have an A1 DELF, A2 DELF, and so on. But all of these exams work the same way. So it's an assessment of 4 skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing, which is why during the program, we also focus on these 4 skills and make sure that you are ready before the session. That's it for me. We'll take the time again at the end of the presentation to go through to see your questions. I'm going to let Khadija tell you more about the Swahili classes. I think what they're doing is also very exciting. So Khadija, please take it from there.
Thank you, Magali. If, with your permission, Magali, if you'll allow me, I think I'll just, if you can still continue with your projection, if you can still use your projection, thank you. Yeah, so Alliance Française de Mombasa, thank you. So what you're seeing on your screen is just a small brochure with the basic information basically for the Swahili classes. I want to give you a small history of how we came up with these courses. Well, just like French, learning Swahili also faces the same challenges a non-Swahili speaker will face. And for us, we started out a project of creating these classes based on a situation. Make sure that learners, especially foreigners who don't speak Swahili, get the knowledge that they need to start getting comfortable. You know, you're in a country where the local people speak Swahili, and you want to be in a situation where you go to the market and at least say, I want to buy this. If you have to talk to the market seller who doesn't speak English or whose English is not very good, you're still able to go to their level and speak in a language that they understand comfortably without feeling out of place. So that was the motivation that drove us to create these classes. So for a beginner course, we give a total of 30 hours, and we recommend 2 sessions of 2 hours each, at least per week. In some cases, we are forced to do less because people are busy with work, so we can go for a 1-hour class. So finally, in about 2 months, you are able to get the basics of the Swahili class. What we decided to do as well with this class to make it more useful and innovative and interesting for the learner is that we accompanied the class sessions with the videos, authentic videos which have been shot here in Mombasa with local people, which target specific situations like ordering in a restaurant, like buying something in the market, like you know, ordering a tuk-tuk or a taxi. What kind of situation or what kind of conversation would you have in a case like that? So yeah, for these classes, it has been a good start since we reformulated these classes. We are getting more and more demand, especially from expatriates. We are currently working with Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF, and in most cases, we do either group classes or individual classes. There are people who prefer to have the private classes, so we are flexible as well and open to both options. We also do corporate classes with the AGRA, AGRA is an organization based in Nairobi, and they actually get to follow these classes on an online basis. Yeah, so Magali, thank you. So there you see a list of the kind of things you'll be able to learn at this level, buying at the market and bargaining. Yeah, we go as far as, you know, finding language that you can use to bargain. It happens all the time. Using transport, going to a restaurant, making basic arrangements. And to support that, we give, this is like a PDF, tailor-made, you know, very original material that we create to support the lessons that you do. So it's like a grammar sheet with the keywords, key phrases that you can still go over after the lessons. We also try to encourage, for more practice, we try to encourage the learners to even record themselves in WhatsApp. We create WhatsApp group for that classes. And after each lesson, you know, like for example, in this one, if you are the first lesson, you are talking about greetings or introducing yourself, you get to have an activity where you introduce yourself orally and you record, you do the recording on WhatsApp and it's shared in the group. So it provides a platform where people can practice. In some cases, for students who come for the physical classes, we also request to do like outings. We request to do like outings. So in the event we want to get a feel of a real life situation, we can actually make a visit like to a restaurant and try to do like a role play where the learners get to actually order in Swahili and then get a feel of how it would feel like to interact with the waiter in real time. Okay. So basically, I think that's it. That's it. We are not able to show the videos, but from when you get the presentation, there'll be an extra, a small YouTube trailer where you're able to see, you know, what we do when you're creating the videos. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Khadija. Indeed, the video is really cool. I wanted to share it, but I'm afraid that we don't have so much time, but I made sure to include the link so people can watch some of the really cool content you've created on YouTube. Thank you so much. I can see a lot of questions and they are very exciting. Before getting there, let's quickly finish with a few practical information, one of them being the price. So to explain to you the model, the way things work, we usually look at prices for a group. So I want to keep the group as small as possible. The maximum of participants we can have in a group, as you can see, is 15. 15 participants in a group. What we are looking at right now is the cost for a group for an hour. And I think that you also have an answer to some of the questions I've seen, which is to know whether we can have online and face-to-face classes. Yes, since COVID, we had to adapt. So we've done a lot of work in terms of acquisition of equipment, creating some content like Khadija showed you for online classes, sharing content through different platforms like WhatsApp. We are right now in Kampala testing what is called hybrid classes. So some of the participants are face-to-face, the other one are online. So what I'm trying to say is that we are able to adapt. At this stage, we are looking at 3 options for this society. Online classes, ideally full online, so people who decide to do everything online. In-person at Alliance Française, so people come to different centers. Or we go to your premises. And in your case, because we talk about different offices and locations, we would have to agree maybe on 1 or 2 offices where some of you, the members, could join. So what is unique about us is that as for today, we were able to have the same price for online and face-to-face, despite the investment we had to make. But we understood that it is a requirement, it is a necessity, especially with this pandemic. So the price for online and face-to-face is the same. The only difference will be if we have to come to your office. So you have the cost for, again, I repeat, a group of 15 participants for an hour in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. Now, the question is, how much are you going to pay individually? So if we look at the cost per person, we have to take into account different things. First, there is a fee to register annually. It is the registration fees that will give you access to our libraries and some discount when we have our cultural activities. There is also a cost for the textbooks. We use a textbook for a full level. So you saw that level A1 is 120 hours. So you're going to use the same book for the 120 hours. This will be your book. You will be able to use it as much as you want. And in most cases, you'll have some links, access to digital content, so you can even work more if you're interested to do that at home. Now, if we go back to the three offers, online, Alliance Française Center, and at your premises, what you see right now is the cost for an hour per person if this person is in a group of 15 participants, okay? I'm going to explain that again because in some cases there is some confusion. We have to make sure we can have a maximum of participants to offset the cost and to make sure that each participant will pay what you look at right now. So for Uganda, I like to say that it's less than 10,000 an hour, which is a pretty good deal for a class. What is going to happen after that? First, we're going to listen at your questions, comments, suggestions, and make sure that, again, we know what will be the best option for classes. So we can finalize our online form, and we're going to ask you whether you're interested in registering for Swahili classes or French classes. We're going to ask you whether you want to have online classes or face-to-face classes. If you want us to go to your office or want to come to our center, sorry. And we're going to ask you whether you want to have classes in the morning, at lunch, or afternoon. The recommended pace, I didn't explain that. Typically, for busy professionals like you, the best way to learn without being overwhelmed is to have 2 sessions per week. 1 session is an hour, so 2 sessions per week, that means 4 hours per week. There is much more we can say, but at this stage, I'm not going to get into the specific details. I'm just going to say that what makes a big difference is how much time you can dedicate outside of the 4 hours. And you'll see that once you start a program with us, we give you extra ways, other ways to work on your own and to really connect with the language. But again, the pace is 2 sessions, and usually people prefer to have classes on Tuesday and Thursday, or Monday and Wednesday. Basically, they want to leave enough space between the 2 sessions so they can review everything on their own, work on their homework, and so on. So that's it for now. We wanted to give you enough time to ask some questions. Maybe we can start by reviewing the questions we received, and then we'll invite you to ask them directly if you want. All right, perfect. So going back to the questions, I saw first question or comment about online classes. So I hope that my latest statements answer your question. Yes, we do have online classes. We've been doing quite well since 2021. And the next step will be for some cases to have what we call hybrid classes, but at this stage, I cannot guarantee that we can offer that right away. Hybrid classes are basically classes where some of the people are online and others are face-to-face, which can be convenient if you sign up for a face-to-face class, but unfortunately, you have to travel the day of a specific class, so you can join the class through Zoom. We use Zoom for the online classes, and in some of the Alliance Française, we also have a platform called Apollearn where you can find the recordings and the content created by the teacher. I also saw a question regarding the training within schools. So as for now, we focus on training teachers, for teachers to be able to prepare the students for the certifications, for the DES certifications. We don't, and I like that question because I know that you know that this is a big challenge. Most schools don't have access to books, and we are trying to look at a way, at least in Uganda, I will let my colleagues answer for the other countries. We are trying to look at a way to help the schools getting books. So with 8 of them in Uganda, we are planning to order books from France. So we will facilitate the transportation and the order of the books, but the books will be paid by the parents, basically. but the transportation is a very big challenge for this school. So I think that that will be very helpful. I also saw a question about offices in Arusha. Adele, maybe you can answer that one. Do you have offices in Arusha, Tanzania?
Yes, so Alliance Française in Tanzania, we have a branch also in Arusha and an association in Zanzibar. So yes, we have one office in Arusha. This office is also teaching French and Swahili and just a bit of English also.
I saw another question regarding, yes, customized program. Yes, we can do that. I would say that this is normally what we do. We usually work with one corporation, one company, and we can have a customized program for them. In your case, we thought that it could be more convenient because, again, remember, we're trying to have as many participants as possible in a group. So we thought that it would be more convenient to combine different corporations. But if you think that within one corporation, you have enough people interested to start a group, we'll be happy to do that and to customize our offer and to make sure that the time is convenient. I also saw a question. What was the other question about? Yes, how are we going to form groups? That's a very good question. So the online form we are looking at right now will help you to confirm again the number of people interested for each offering. And we're going to organize group according to the level. So if you know that you actually don't know any French, or you studied French a long time ago and you want to start from the start, the best thing to do is to sign up for A1 group. On the other hand, if you think that you're actually pretty good in French and you want to complete the advanced level faster and maybe start with A2 right away or even B1, in that case, the best is to take a placement test to confirm your level. And again, if we have enough participants at the same level, we're going to regroup them. The other criteria for the group will be time and days. So we're going to regroup people according to the time, the schedule selected. I think that's it for the written questions we received. I like interactive sessions, so please again, feel free to open your mic and ask a question directly if you want to understand more.
Colleagues, members can raise their hand using the section seen on their screen, and we shall give them a chance to speak.
So I see there is a question asking about the form that we will send, about whether there will be an option for you to put the time and day that you prefer. So indeed, that's something that we will put. There will be different options, so that's how we will make the groups regarding what Alliance Française you would be taught at, because from what we understood, you are not in the same country. And there would be, yeah, like a few options for days and times.
I would just like to add that indeed we give you the option to submit your own time, but we'll ask you as much as possible to use one of the options provided, because again, at the end of the day, we want to regroup the different participants according to the time selected. So we'll give you the option, we can consider another option, but we'll ask you, first of all, to select one of the options provided. Any comment or question?
So again, for those of you who arrived late, you will be able to have a soft copy of the PowerPoint we presented. And if you have any questions, of course, there are our contact information so that you will be able to ask us anything.
Merci, Pauline. And just to go back to Jacinta's question, what we are looking at right now, Jacinta, is a form that we will send you. So as Pauline was saying, you will receive the presentation, so you will understand what this was about. But you didn't miss so much, because the next step will be to confirm whether you're interested in French classes or Swahili classes, at what time, and the format of the class. So the main step, I would say, will be once we receive all the answers, and once we'll be able to confirm the number of people interested in the different groups, different programs.
I see we have a question from Harold. You ask if there will be something specific, like the classes will be specific to your field of your professional field, since you're lawyers. So it depends actually on the level, because if you're, let's say, A1 or A2, you're beginning. So you will need to see the basics. We can't, like, since the very, very beginning, focus on, being specific to lawyers. However, starting levels B1, B2, then we can do something indeed. That's actually what we're doing. Something very tailored and, allowing you to use it in your professional life, to use French. So yes, that would be a response.
There is one person who has raised their hand, Mike Omushi. Please, can you unmute and proceed to ask your question? Unmute if you're trying to speak. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. I am Michael Mushi, and I am an advocate from Dar es Salaam. In the year, in last 10 years, I studied French, but it was basic introduction, greetings. My question is, am I going to start afresh, or I can continue from where I ended, though it is like 10 years ago?
I'm going to answer that question. Usually it's interesting because people come differently when they are in your situation, your position. The first question they ask is, can I start from the start? Can I start over? So I would say, from what I heard, you did a basic class 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure that it might be better for you to start from A1. However, if you're interested to confirm your level, you can take a placement test. The placement test will help you to confirm whether you are indeed an A1 student, or you can start at A2 level. Just to give you an idea of the difference between A1 and A2, A1, as we saw the first 60 hours is really what will help you to get into the French language, introduce yourself, present, describe your surroundings, and things like that. The main difference between A1 and A2 is that A2, you add more grammar. And for instance, you are pretty comfortable with something called passé composé, the past tense, which can be a challenge for some students, which is why most of them prefer to go back to A1, make sure that the A1 is strong before starting with the A2 program. So at this stage, my answer would be, might be better for you to start over with A1. But if you think that, and I've seen that too, people are able to review a few things on their own, catch up, go back to their books and their notes, and be prepared for A2, it's also an option, but you might want to take a placement test to confirm that indeed you're ready to start right away with the A2 group. And Adele, maybe I can let you say more about the placement test for Dar es Salaam and Arusha. I think you have the same one, right?
Yeah, exactly. We work the same way. For case like you, we will assess together. First time you're the writing part, so you will have a writing test. And second time, we will also assess the oral part, so we will have with us an oral test. So at the end, we'll be able to see if you are a complete beginner, meaning, okay, you still remember some words, some grammatic points, but it's not enough to put you in the second level, or if actually what you remember is strong enough to be in the intermediate beginner level.
There is another question, I think, online. Sam is asking, just for clarity, is it possible for one to attend some sessions physically and others online within the group? For example, if I sign up to attend Tuesdays and Thursdays, but unable to make a physical attendance on some of the days, can I attend online and later whenever possible physically?
So I'm going to start with an answer for Uganda. We had a training last week to make sure that we would answer to this type of request, because indeed they are more and more frequent. People like you, most of all, have to travel more and more often. So in the past, we had two separate offers. We would have online classes where you would do all your sessions online, and we had face-to-face classes. What we heard from beginners, especially the one who are taking online classes, that it would be great from time to time to have face-to-face classes. So we are looking at a way to create a full hybrid solution. As for now, I told my teacher, because we did the training, they were pretty excited, but I wanted to take it slow because I want to make sure that the quality is there. But we invested in some camera, which means that a teacher can be, if we are Alliance Française, of course, the teacher can be able to do a class with people who are here. And if someone has to travel that day, they can join the class from Zoom. If this is something that is quite important for you, I think we'll be eager to test and to see what we can do about that. What is sure is that we have a platform where students can see what was covered during the last session and see what is going to happen during the next one. So we want to make sure that even if you're not able to attend a class physically, you can catch up and work on your own. So to go back to an answer, yes, it is possible. It's fairly new. I'm still cautious, but yes, for Uganda, we can do it. And I'm going to let Khadija and Adele tell you more about their centers.
In our center, it's pretty much the same, especially for evening classes and for professionals, people who work and at some point need to travel for work reasons. In fact, before we used to have everyday classes, Monday to Friday. It was pretty intensive. And then we came to realize that from the attendance, it's somehow not really possible for people to keep up with the with that kind of frequency, because they also have to attend to some work-related issues. So we reduced the frequency to 3 times a week, sometimes 2, like it's in the case with the proposal that we are giving you right now. And yeah, that question arises very much because people have to travel sometimes for work reasons and are not able to make it physically in class. The hybrid question, like my colleague Magali has talked about, has also knocked at our doors. We still don't have a concrete platform that we can offer that kind of class. Like it's not yet in place, but it's something that has come to our attention, and we are really keen on seeing how we can put it into practice. But for now, in the event you miss a class, that the teacher makes a point of sharing whatever they have done in groups. The information is shared. And then when you're back for the physical class, we make time. Of course, the teacher tries to make time to help you catch up with the stuff that you missed. So it might mean maybe coming a few minutes earlier. It might mean staying a bit more later after the class, just so that you're able to get a glimpse of what people did. And then apart from that, in class, the teachers create a culture of doing a quick review of the previous lesson before moving on to the lesson of the day. So I don't know if it answers your question.
I can maybe add also for the part of Dar es Salaam. So as Kampala and Mombasa, we has the same way of working. We have physical classes and hybrid classes. We do hybrid classes since COVID, and particularly since January 2022, we have 40% of our evening classes which are hybrid, meaning part of the class is at Alliance Française and the rest is at home following the lesson online.
Merci beaucoup. There are more questions, and they are great questions. So someone wanted to understand more about the global network, national network, and maybe advocates network. I'm not really sure about the advocates network. I think it might be related to your field, but I'm going to start with the global network. So what we explained at the beginning is that there is a global network of Alliance Française. So whether you go, I used to work at the Alliance Française in Mexico, for instance. So pretty much in any country in the world, you can find an Alliance Française where you will have the same programs, same methodology, and same way of teaching French, and along French, other courses such as Swahili and Uganda. So this network is basically pretty much a guarantee of quality, training, and methodology. And then what I explained is that we are separate entities. In each country, some local people decided to create an organization to promote the language. And that's how basically the different Alliance Française started. So we have separate directors, separate staff members, but because we are receiving more and more requests from regional organizations, we have started to really work together. And we've been talking about getting even more similar tools. So the reason why we're able to come in front of you all together is because we are already making sure that our processes are the same, the way we present the offer is the same, and we are quite excited, to be honest, to be able to provide to people like you who are also working between different countries. I might need to ask Richard to tell me more about the Advocates Network, because I don't think that this is something I mentioned. But yeah, what I explained is that there is a global network with the headquarters in Paris and different centers in the different countries. I also saw the question regarding weekend classes. Yes, we had mentioned that. In our case, weekend classes are, and I'm going to let Khadija and Adele tell us more about the countries. In our case, most classes for professionals, or at least professionals who come through a corporate program, are happening during the week. But we do have a lot of classes during the weekend on Saturday, but they're usually for people who are not part of this corporate program. And again, here we have options. You can decide to do 2 hours during the week and 2 hours on Saturday, or we see that as well. People who are really busy during the week just prefer to have the 4 hours during one day, typically the Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So yes, it is possible.
Okay, thank you. I just want to talk about the Advocates Network. So thank you very much for the presentations and the clarifications. So since you have the global network and then is the national network, is there a possibility to go down, maybe for us advocates, we can have our advocates French network, so that we can be able to interact and how we can link together, work together with the national network, which is the rest of us. Maybe within the advocate network, maybe there can be small clubs for French, maybe even in school, law school, wherever. So is there a mechanism of creating the clubs or streaming down the network to the grassroots for us, the advocates and below? Thank you.
I can understand that, because I do remember that we spoke about that. It would be having an opportunity to create a club that goes beyond the border, right? So having people learning French in different countries, connecting, interacting together, practicing, maybe even having some fun activities to be able to practice what they learn. Am I correct, Richard? Is that what your question is about?
Yes, yes, and thank you, Ms. Magali. The intention really and why we are saying as East Africa Law Society, we need to have specific training organized for lawyers is really because of that. that in that class of 15, if you're 15 and you're online, you're going to have people from Tanzania, you'll have people from Kenya, you'll have people from Uganda. So you're just not learning French, but you're also networking within East Africa. So that is a very unique point for this training. So to answer that question, I believe that once that class of 15 comes up, you'll probably have a WhatsApp group where you're all connected and you'll be sharing videos, learning French, sharing videos, learning opportunities, whatever opportunities may come up. And so this will specifically help just not in learning, but also in networking. So you can always form the advocate clubs within your own 15 people. And I know that once we finish, if we make about 5 teams, I hope that we will have a networking session where all the 5 teams come together and say, how was your experience? What have you learned? What do you do? You know, so those opportunities will be provided. Thank you. There's another question, I think, Magali, which you need to, I think, the issue on costs, perhaps for those, there are many that joined after, just to clarify on the costs so that people can know how much they have to pay.
No worries. So if we go back, and again, for those who join us late, what we explained that we will share the presentation afterwards, so you'll be able to, we try to make it as explicit as possible so you can see again what the Alliance Française are about and what the program specifically is about. So if we go back to the presentation of the cost, we basically looked at 3 main costs. The first one is pretty small, is the cost you pay for the annual registration, and that will give you access to the different benefits, the online library and the physical library. Then you have the textbook. So there is a cost for the book you're going to use for an entire program. And if you start with A1, that would mean the cost for 120 hours. And finally, you have the cost for classes. And we are right now looking at the price per hour per person, if this person is in a group of 15 participants. So there are 3 options. You can join an online group, you can be at an Alliance Française, or we can come to your office. And as you can see, the cost for classes at your premises is slightly different. So just to conclude on that, what we saw at the beginning of the presentation is that it takes 120 hours to complete the first level. So that means 4 hours per week, sorry, that's pretty much 7 months to be able to say, okay, I know the basic, the foundation of French. And again, this course is for 1 hour. So I like to say for Uganda that it's less than 10,000 Ugandan shillings per hour.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I don't know whether we have any questions, any more questions. If we don't have, as I see in the chat group, there are no more questions. I think in terms of next steps, we are going to share the form that AF has to all the members, including those who did not attend. We'll also ensure that we share the presentation, and we'll be given about maybe 1 week or 2 weeks to respond. And that will also enable AF be able to cluster us in 2 groups and then come up with a specific timetable for us. So on behalf of the East Africa Law Society, I want to first of all thank AF for organizing this conference. Sorry, not conference. I'm used to speaking at conferences, so please forgive for organizing this very important webinar. I want to specifically thank Magali and Pauline. When we came with the idea of us having an East Africa Law Society training, they were very welcome to the idea. In some places, when you go with that sort of idea, people don't even want to listen. They're like, how are we going to be able to do this? So I'm very grateful to AF for appreciating that we are East Africa. We are no longer Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. We are East Africa. And we also have DR Congo with us. So we are East Africa. So I want to thank you so much. I want to thank the members who have attended this session. Thank you so much. As I keep saying, you only prepare for tomorrow by doing what you have to do today. When you get that transaction, and if you look at the French investment into East Africa, I think the only example we can easily give is the East African crude oil pipeline. We have French contractors. When you get that transaction, I'm not sure you want to look for me to translate for you because I'll charge you at double the price. So you want to think about it and start preparing now for the opportunities that come with learning French. It is important for all of us to be able to do this. And even if you just don't look at East Africa, there'll be opportunities in West Africa. It's always just good to have another language. Swahili is very important. So we are happy that we are going to be able to do this training, both French and Swahili. So I want to thank you, the members of the East Africa Law Society. Thank you so much for attending. We are really looking forward to you registering and participating in this course. And I can tell you, because I've also been a student at AF Kampala, it's excellent teaching. That is why I have personally pushed, knowing my classes were very good. And so I can at least testify and vouch for the people before you that you will enjoy the language, you will learn, and they are very patient. So it doesn't matter what level you are, you will actually learn. You will actually learn. So please register. We will send out the form. We'll send out the form to everyone who has registered for this webinar. We have your email addresses. And I've actually had a couple of friends who are not lawyers asking whether they could join. I'm going to speak to Magali to ensure that anyone who has asked me will be allowed to study with this particular group. And also, lastly, let me thank her for giving us a discounted price. As you can see, the price is about 10,000 shillings per hour. So it's a very discounted price, which has been taken into consideration because of where we are. So many things are happening globally, which are affecting us. Our practices are not the same like the way they were before COVID, but doesn't mean that we give up now. We must continue. And that's what we are trying to do. We must continue because tomorrow things will be better. So thank you for the excellent discount that you have given members of the East Africa Law Society. With those few remarks, please allow us to wish you a nice and a great weekend. And we will be able to share the form during the weekend. I think the Secretariat is on call. We will be able to share the form so that you can be able to register. Thank you so much. Merci.
Thank you.
Merci.
And then Swahili, asante sana. Then the ones in Uganda, mwebale nnyo. The ones from Rwanda, murakoze cyane. So asante sana. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a nice
Thank
weekend.
you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Merci.